And now it's time for our interview, the best part of our segment today, in my opinion.
With Justin Lawman. Justin, good morning to you, my friend. Welcome to The Breakfast Show.
Ooh, wait a second. We are just trying to get Justin online here.
Can you
Okay,
hear me?
there
we
go.
can hear you now, Justin. Good morning to you, my friend. How are you?
I'm going great, as long as technology's with us.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey, Justin, tell us a little bit about what has happened in the past week, as I think a fair bit happened. I do not know. Have you tried to fuel up your tank in the meantime?
I sure have, because, I live in Canberra and a place called Batlow, just outside of Batlow, and we've famously been all over the news because we've had no fuel at all.
Oh, no fuel at all?
No.
Wow, I cannot believe it. Look, I was just driving yesterday here in Newcastle area. And, one day I saw that the diesel prices had jumped like 30, 40 cents per liter. And then the next day, another 30, 40 cents. Then the next day, another 30, 40 cents. Oh, so now the diesel is bordering $3. And before that, all of that was like $1.60, $1.70. So we are almost getting to double prices if you can find them.
Well, unfortunately, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. All our fuel in Australia comes through Singapore and South Korea. They get the crude oil from the Straits of Hormuz. So there was still crude oil on the ocean when this war broke out 16 days ago, but there is definitely not much on the ocean now. So I'm sure they're scrambling to get more oil from some other place, but I'm not sure this is going to go away when it comes to fuel and the prices, and possibly even more shortage.
Wow, that is intense. So what are you making? Like, what can happen if that scenario comes to place? What do you think can we expect to see happening around?
Inflation is, of course, the thing that the Reserve Bank here just puts up interest rates as soon as they smell a bit of inflation. Well, this is going to be, if the cost of energy goes up, the cost of everything goes up as far as consumption, goods, the supply chains of this world. It amazes me how fragile that we only have 30 days of fuel, because if we just pray tell we can't get any fuel for trucking, it's not like, oh, shucks, it's going to be dearer. Coles and Woolworths don't operate. So, this is actually could become much, much worse than it currently is. We pray it doesn't, but it's a crazy place we find ourselves in as a country. So rich in resources that a war in the Middle East could impact us in such a devastating way. Possibly. It hasn't yet. It's scaring us, but it's got the potential to, and it's crazy that we find ourselves here.
And look, Australia used to be self-sufficient in the fuel we used to produce, wasn't it, in the past? So we made that decision to say, hey, what can possibly go wrong? Let's just outsource our fuel stocks for overseas. Isn't that what happened?
Well, it's that. It was cheaper, but more than that, in a world where climate change is the major moral crisis of our age, as a former prime minister said, you don't invest in coal and you don't invest in oil and the development or the processing of oil. We have more oil than we could ever use as a country, but we somehow convince ourselves that if someone else uses the coal or we get the oil from somewhere else, it's good for the environment. So wow. I'm not sure about that logic, but this is not a topic to get me started on. It's Monday morning.
Absolutely.
Monday morning.
Absolutely, Justin. So tell us a little bit more about what's been going on the Strait of Hormuz in the war, because Donald Trump said that he was going to offer for insurance, like competitive rates to transporters, that he would even use warships to escort tankers if needed. Where's that all going?
Well, he also put a call out for other nations to send warships to the Straits of Hormuz. Here's the thing. The Chinese have developed a missile that they call the aircraft carrier destroyer. If you bring in your ships into that strait, you are definitely putting your ship in jeopardy. And I think, the missiles are still flying. There's more damage being done by drones than anything else. And they're using the defense capabilities of these warships to take down missiles to defend cities. But this is a precarious situation. One of the big issues in the Middle East is water. And these countries are using desalination plants to give there's 100 million people need water that only get it from salt water being desalinated in these plants. And the Iranians have shown they have hit one of these plants. If they were to successfully destroy a number of these desalination plants, human beings can't go long without water. And the whole Middle East and its wealth comes under real jeopardy. So this is far from over. We wish it would all settle down and it's all going to be done in a couple of weeks. But Iran is proving to be very resilient, and they're not coming to the table to talk to Donald about anything.
And the thing is that they are really putting the whole world hostage, because they effectively, with their militia tactics, they managed to close one of the most important commercial waterways in the planet. And it tells us how interconnected the world economy is in this current model.
And if they can get the price of oil to $200 a barrel, which they would love to do, that would probably mean that Donald Trump would lose the House and the Senate in the midterms.
Wow.
The impact that it would have on Western economies. So they don't have many chips to play with, but that's a big one that they do have. And it continues. And they are constantly attacking their neighbors. The UAE is a big ally of the United States. It's just daily that they are continuing to launch drones and missiles into those countries.
I've seen a breaking news yesterday that Hamas send a message to Iran saying, hey, please stop attacking your allies and the other Arab countries here. Have you seen that news floating around?
Yeah, I don't know how true any of this stuff. The first casualty in war is the truth.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
It's really the whole of the Middle East is united with Israel at the moment against Iran, which is incredible to say that out loud, because that's not where we've lived for a long time.
Absolutely.
And they're not making any friends at the moment.
And speaking of which, there's some conspiracies that Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of Ali Khamenei, the current supreme leader of Iran, at least he has elected as being supreme leader. There's some conspiracy theories out there that people are questioning, hey, is this guy even alive, or is this some kind of fake news? What do you think about that, Justin?
I follow a guy that is Iranian. He has family in Iran. And he said now for a week that he's in a coma and that he has one leg is either permanently damaged or even amputated from an attack, a strike that he's been involved in. So if that's true, I don't really know. No one has seen him since he's been elected. There's only been a written statement, which doesn't give you a lot of confidence. And by the way, while we're on that, there's a lot of talk and conspiracy surrounding the Israeli prime minister.
Yeah, so what's the goal with that?
Well, what's done it, his home was struck by a missile. He came out and made a speech on television, but unfortunately on one part of the clip he has 6 fingers, which, unless you're related to Goliath in the scripture.
Wow. Okay. So what are people saying in the web sphere?
That was a deep fake that they've used I'm no technical guy, but apparently AI seems to struggle with hands when it's making. The number of fingers is one of the tells. And unfortunately, you can watch that online. He has 6 fingers at one point in the video. So they're saying, well, he didn't actually record that at all. That is a deep fake produced by AI. Where's Benjamin? And then they've put out a video today, him in a coffee shop saying he's dead for coffee. Again, what do we believe in this modern world?
Yes.
When we see a video now, can you trust any videos? The stuff you see online of people wrestling with lions, and it looks so real, but it's not.
It looks very real.
So,
Actually, Justin, I saw some accounts online, and I hope that, look, nobody does this, okay? But I definitely do not endorse what I am going to say now. But they're saying here that people are, when they're committing crimes and robbery, let's say bank robbery, they're adding like a 6th fake finger to their hand, so that when these videos come to court, they can say, this is AI, because look at my hands, there are 6 fingers. I don't recommend anybody trying this. Just saying that's what's out there. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that is okay. So Prime Minister, what about Cuba? Because in the middle of all of that, it looks that Cuba is having some really historical manifestations and protests at the moment, aren't they?
It's their utter poverty. Now that Venezuela has been taken by the Trump administration, Cuba has a fuel crisis of mammoth proportions. They have a food crisis. Mexico's not sending stuff as they were. America wants Cuba like they want Venezuela. They're taking out the cartels in Mexico. They're threatening Canada and Greenland, and they're taking Iran. And I've got to say, guys, in the background is China. China gets a lot of its energy from Venezuela, where that's been taken off, and Iran. And I think Trump has gone into Iran because he keeps giving inconsistent reasons. That tells you there's another bigger reason they don't want to state. I think this is about Taiwan and the South China Sea and the future of why they're in Iran at the moment.
But people are saying that the United States has displayed such an array of very sophisticated weapons that the Chinese had no idea, or nobody actually had no idea that the U.S. had, that this is acting as a deterrent to China for their pretensions with the South China Sea and particularly with Taiwan. What do you make of that? Do you think that do you think that this is an accurate interpretation of what has happened, or do you think that the United States is coming out as more fragilized than before?
I think they're isolating China. And energy, no economy can survive if it doesn't have energy. And that's why we're in a panic about diesel. Because all our farming, all our mining, all our transport, we would starve without diesel in this country. And if America can isolate China's need because it cannot produce enough of its own oil, it has to import oil. Russia's the other side, and Trump has removed tariffs on Russia to try and keep the price of oil down. They want to control oil and the supply of oil. So I think that's what it's about, but that's just my opinion. We'll see what happens moving forward, but the 2027 is a big year for Taiwan and China, and China's made it very clear that they're intending to reclaim Taiwan as their own.
Absolutely. And Justin, what about Ukraine? Because Ukraine has been a little bit like the focus of the international media, it's not really going to Ukraine, but Donald Trump said that, or at least not Donald Trump, but Zelensky said that the U.S. government has sought their help to train and teach some of their soldiers in the Middle East how to defend themselves against drone strikes and anti-drone warfare, because of their experience with that. And there are also some news coming from the battlefront. What's going on in Ukraine?
Look, from what I've been watching and listening to, the the amount of drone attacks that Ukraine are performing into Russia now is getting to levels we haven't seen. And it appears that they have merged artificial intelligence into the operation of these drones, probably with a lot of American help. And so they have taken drone warfare now to a whole nother level. They're killing the Russian drones with their own drones, but when they don't need operators, when they're able to use artificial intelligence, drone warfare has become the next big thing, or the actual big thing now in military conflict. And the merging of artificial intelligence with that makes it a very dangerous thing. And right now, Ukraine is making great gains against Russia, which we haven't been able to say for a while because of the way they're using their drones and the number of drones that they're using.
Wow. So have you heard anything about Ukraine reclaiming some territory as well in Russia?
Yes, and the intent seems to be that they are going to attack more and more. They overnight they had some of these long-range missiles made by the British and the French. What are they? Storm something?
Storm Shadows.
Storm Shadows have gone deep into destroying a missile factory in Russia. Look, we are living right now, and I'm sorry I'm being a bit dramatic today. We're living in 1941, where England is fighting with the Germans and they've invaded Poland and the war has broken out there. We have a war in Europe right now with Ukraine and Russia that America is very involved with. We also have this Middle Eastern war now that's drawn all sorts of countries in. If China were to take Taiwan in the next year or so, I think we find ourselves in a world war, because the Second World War started the same way. It wasn't all at the same time. Pearl Harbor happens after Britain and Germany are already at war. And so this is a dangerous time. It's a time we need to be praying. And modern warfare is really getting very sophisticated.
Absolutely. So, Justin, what can we do? What do you suggest we to our listeners to do? How can we prepare ourselves for the unimaginable in the future, spiritually speaking?
Just understand the time in which we live. I don't think we should be naive and just think the government's going to rescue us and they're going to have everything okay. We need to rely on God, and we need to have faith in God today. And having that as the highest priority in your life, that you're reading your Bible, you're praying, and you understand, we're at the business end of history. The gospel is going to go forward to all the world. Be a part of sharing the gospel today. That's the best thing you could ever do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Justin. And by the way, I did develop a little Bible study guide and asking the question, is this current Iran-Israel conflict being prophesied in the Bible? So it's a Bible study on the prophecies of Ezekiel chapter 38, 39, and bring some passages of the New Testament as well. If you're interested in exploring more of that topic, text me here, #Iran, to 0491-064-669. Again, #Iran to 0491-064-669. And I'll send those notes for you to study the Bible and to seek God and to try to make sense of everything that's happening now. And most importantly, how to respond when these things happen. Thank you so much, Justin.